Okay, cool. So next up would be the majority floor manager, Edwards.
Thank you, Chairman. Which bill do you want to hear first?
Your prerogative. You can put them all into play if you want.
Okay. We have 3 bills. Are there anyone testifying on the trying to find the bill here. I'll go through the simplest one first, 5226. This is an act that would require, actually, I'm sorry, I'll go through 5225 first, which is an act that would require the definition of public works to include any public works project performed for a city or town or quasi-municipal entity or quasi-state entity for the prevailing wage work. We have right now a lot of cities and towns. We also have some quasis. Narragansett Bay Commission, I believe, might be one of them, but we have some quasis that don't believe they are actually brought into our public works, public property and public works programs. This bill would very clearly identify them as public entities under this program and would require them to have their work over a certain level be prevailing wage work. They would not be able to skirt the law. Very straightforward, very simple. I introduced this last year, and unfortunately due to COVID, we weren't able to hear it. The second bill, 5226, Representative Nardone actually told me he introduced the same bill yesterday. So I'm going to have him testify as well on this, but this bill is, again, very straightforward. Due to the length of time since we originally put minimum purchases levels in for state purchasing, we have exceeded those. Right now, for small state purchases, the bar is $10,000. Anything under $10,000 would be exempt. That number with time has become exceedingly small. You have a lot of equipment and things that would actually fall within the $10,000 mark and be forced to be bought in a different program. This would increase that to $25,000. And for construction projects, we actually have an incredibly small limit, $5,000. $5,000. I have actually done small projects, and probably the smallest project I've done in the last 15 years was a $10,000 project. I cannot imagine having something $5,000 project and having it fall under the guidelines. So to give some relief to the cities and towns, we would raise that up to $10,000.
Okay.
And finally, we have 5455, which is the Rhode Island Municipal Infrastructure Program. We heard this. It was approved. It was approved by both chambers a couple of years ago. What this bill would do is simply remove the prohibition for allowing funds to go into the program. The program is there. The program is set up. Now it's time for us to actually fund something into the program. That would be at the behest of this committee, doing through the budget program, but that we would take out the prohibition against funding it. It would no longer just be a placeholder.
All right, great. Any questions for Floor Manager Edwards before we pass it over to Rep. Nardone to have his input? Rep. Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rep. Edwards, my question is for House Bill 5226. And my question is, this bill will oversee citizen town policy in terms to cap the purchase or any procurement requirement? because my concern is in the city of Providence, we have conversation to talking about raising the bar, but we need to put some policy and some regulations in order to maintain the chances for increasing minority participation, because as it is, the director have a discretion to decide on three choices of business. What I mean is they presented three different businesses and they can select one. If we increase it to 10,000 or more, so the same opportunity for department director will be limiting the chances to branch it to minority business more. So I want to know if that bill will affecting the policies in cities and town or just as a state purchasing.
This would affect state purchases.
Only.
State purchases only, I believe.
Okay.
But it's raising it to real levels. The levels we have currently are unbelievably and archaically low.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I agree with you. But the city scale is less than the state. So I understand your point and the genesis of that. So my question was if affecting the cities and town, thinking of the capital, but it's no problem.
My intent was just to go after the state purchases because, I mean,
Yeah.
once again, very, very low levels. If we want to raise them, this committee could easily amend this and we could raise the levels even higher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Any other questions? And then Representative Nardone, this can be your practice run before you submit your legislation. You'll be up before us again. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, this legislation, I fully support it, and I had to chuckle when I first got in here, and I was reading the bill run, and I seen this legislation. I had a constituent of mine who's a town planner who brought this forward, and when he had told me of the numbers that the state was receiving, the $5,000 and I believe it's $10,000, I was astonished, and he had recommended that I introduce a bill that was framed exactly like this. So I fully support this. I think the state needs this money. It has to be raised. It's been way too low for way too long. So I believe, like Rep. Edwards was saying, you could even raise it a little bit more. But this works. So that would be it. Thanks.
All right. Great testimony. And then it looks like we have a couple of folks online or one person online. So once you get buzzed in, introduce yourself and say what bill you're speaking on and a brief little summary. So you're live. Go right ahead. I believe it's Bill. You are live.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bill Walsh, on behalf of the Rhode Island Builders Association, here in strong support of Representative Edwards' bill to streamline the Municipal Infrastructure Grant Program. We certainly thank Rep. Edwards, this committee, and the body for enacting the program in 2018. And what we're here before you tonight is to clarify some language so that we can refine the program and allow for state investment. As many of you may recall, this is modeled after the very successful MassWorks program, which has been integral to their success in housing development. And we bring it to you with the collaboration and support of Grow Smart Rhode Island, the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, and the Audubon Society of Rhode Island. So while this particular provision does not set any particular financing, we hope to be before you to solidify that in the future. But in the meantime, we want to get the program squared away and ready to go so that we can help invest in the public infrastructure that would be of great value to the municipalities, but also allow for strategic development to occur down the road. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for Bill? Nope. Let me just check my screen. Nobody's waving. Okay. So, and that being said, I know you touched upon that, but League of Cities and Towns also provide written testimony in support. There being no other witnesses and nobody wants any questions, that concludes the hearings on 5225, 5226, 5455.